The South Carolina Research Authority, celebrating 40 years.
Well, Mr. Secretary, thank you so much for honoring us with this interview as we celebrate the 40th anniversary of the South Carolina Research Authority. Thank you, sir.
Well, I thank you, and it's my honor and pleasure to be with you. I'm very proud of the success that we've had and interested in looking at what brought it about.
Well, a big catalyst for what brought it about is you. So the organization was established to fuel the state's economic development through science, technology, and engineering. What prompted you to initiate that concept?
Well, we were getting into the 80s. My second term was just beginning as governor. And it was important to me then to really think out what we were going to do in my second term. A lot of things that were happening were not good for the economy of the state or whatever. The textile industry was really suffering. And that had been our job creation source, a lot of it. So that was kind of out of the picture. To replace that, and then farming, we had tobacco farms and cotton that was very successful at one time, no longer. So what people were looking at in other states and us are things that would involve technology and engineering. And that, to me, was exciting, and certainly it was the move that the country was moving into. So it made good sense for us then to enter those elements that were creating jobs in other states. And we looked at the North Carolina Research Triangle closely, friends of ours and close by. And that also was a very important thing for us to get into those elements of research and engineering and technology. The third thing that I would think of, big thing that was taking place during that time, I had worked all the first term to try to get the three great universities that are in research working together. And they all were doing a lot of valuable things, but it was clear in other states too that unless you ended up with a special statewide authority that could pull them all together, then as far as creating jobs and creating the economy boost, it was not near as successful. So we felt like we did need to create an authority, and we should have it in the zone of technology and engineering, and also replacing textiles and cotton and tobacco.
Excellent. One of the major areas of focus for the initial initiative, the original initiative, was research park ecosystem development. From where did you get that idea?
Well, that largely came again from North Carolina, and others. Utah got into one that was a little different and seemed to be working, but we were looking at all those different states that were getting into the same area. It just made good sense. And then we got into locating real estate that the state owned and we could use for a park then, and that has turned out to be a real boost. We now have the one park, which is in the center of the state and close enough for all three research universities, and they all work very well with it, and it seems to be working well. So we have the land, the real estate, which was a tremendous boost to us to get started. We didn't have any appropriation to speak of. We had a small appropriation to get the bill passed. And then it was supposed to be funding on its own. And that's, the legislature likes that kind of thing, obviously. And they like this. And it has really done that job. And I'm very proud of that. And having that real estate, though, really gave us a good start, even though we didn't have cash coming in from the state.
Yeah, you mentioned not having direct funding from the state. Every year I testify in front of the Senate Finance Committee and the House Ways and Means Committee, and I always begin my testimony by saying, I'm not here to ask for a dime, and they all kind of sit back in their chairs and listen, because I'm not there with hat in hand, if you will. Who were some of the early champions to partner with you, particularly on the legislative side, but also business and community leaders? And was it a tough sell at first?
Well, that's interesting. No question about the business community supporting it. And South Carolina has a very strong leadership in the business community. We had that going for us. Raymond Swartz, who was the Speaker of the House, was very strong for the bill, and he liked it. And of course, it went to the Ways and Means Committee because it involved some money, and has to start in the House and has to start in the Ways and Means Committee. Tom Mangum was the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. He liked it. So he and Raymond Swartz were pretty good leaders to start with and people for us to work with. And then when it got on the floor, some conservatives, conservative Republican House members, some members of the textile industry, some of them, not all of them, but were very questioning what this was all about. And I won't say it was a hard sell because they weren't fighting the bill, but they were skeptical. And I don't blame them because it was new, it was different. The state had never been into such a thing. And they had to be convinced. And so we worked and worked and worked. We made some changes on the floor. Finally, we sent the bill back into the House Ways and Means Committee. Mr. Mangum was supporting that. A few changes were made that kind of cleared up some of the concern people had. But it came back out of committee as a committee bill. That means it really has a charge. A lot of the problems are taken away immediately. And it passed the House as a committee bill. The Senate, all this time that we were working in the House, we were also working in the Senate, and they had the same kind of concerns or whatever. So when we got everything worked out in the House and it came to the Senate, we had very little difficulty getting the Senate to approve it. So they did approve it, and the bill was passed.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the beginning. Over the years, our mission has evolved, including the addition of the SC Launch program, as well as our investment affiliate, SC Launch Inc. in 2006, to support early stage technology-based companies in the state. Are you familiar with any of the companies that have gone through the SC Launch program?
No, but I've heard very positive things about it. Every company that has really gone through the launch program really likes it, and it really helped them. And it really helped us in the Research Authority working with them and making them pleased and happy. So I was very pleased with it. It has been a success and the kind of thing that has given the Research Authority a real boost. I mean, we had everything in place, we had the location and so forth for the park. Then all of a sudden we started getting these other efforts to help make it more interesting to companies, and this is one example.
I'd be happy to give you a little more detail on the SC Launch program if you desire.
Thank you.
So a company becomes part of the program by applying to be an SCRA member company. And once you're accepted as a member company, you're eligible for a variety of services, including coaching from not only our staff, but a network of advisors throughout the state. a member company can also apply for a series of grants that help to further develop the company itself, but also the underlying technology for the company, all geared towards making the company more investable. And that's where our investment affiliate, SC Launching, comes into play. They often are the first institutional investor into the company. Up until that point, they're relying on friends, family, and some say fools. And at that point, maybe Uncle Charlie's now tired of bankrolling.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also too early to get a venture capitalist interested. So we fill that gap in a major way.
That's so important. I mean, during that period, this is a new thing. And a lot of people are saying, you know, wait a minute, let's not go too fast, too far, or whatever. However, business supported us all the way through. And but these additions, the companies who were interested in getting in research in our park or in the state certainly liked all these additional efforts that we made to help them.
Well, that's often referred to as the Valley of Death, where great ideas and great companies go to die for the lack of that funding. And we serve as that bridge over the Valley of Death. And for those companies that continue to grow and meet their milestones, SC Launching will often participate in follow-on rounds of funding, but they do so within a syndicate, including venture capitalists, angel investors, and others. And in order to, how do you get a payback on that investment? Well, there are two primary sources. One, a initial public offering or an IPO, where the company goes public. But more times than not, it's through an M&A, mergers and acquisition. And I'd like to share an example for you that happened over the last couple of years. And it's with a company called Green River Spirits, previously called Terrasentia. This company has a proprietary technology to extract impurities from distilled spirits, thereby aging these spirits in a matter of weeks that otherwise would take years to achieve a similar, if not inferior, taste profile. People kind of joke and say, why are you in the booze business? Well, but it's really advanced manufacturing with a proprietary technology. Well, last year they were acquired by Bardstown Bourbon Company, one of the top 10 distillers in the country. And that provided SC Launching with a over 6x return on their investment, thereby giving them additional resources to now reinvest into other companies.
How interesting. It's really chemistry.
It is exactly right. It is indeed chemistry. So we're entering our 40th year. And last year we had over $1.15 billion impact on the state economy. Our programs support over 5,600 South Carolina-based jobs at an average salary of over 81 types of
it's almost too good. And I was thinking, if I'd had that information when we were talking to the House members and the senators and whoever else we had to convince, they would not have believed it. And that's the truth, and it would not have been the thing to say. Of course, I had no idea we were going to do that good, but it's so good that it makes me feel like we really have a great future. But we really need to move it, and as we change, and history changes the economy, and we're in the middle of all that. And let's stay in the middle of it. But y'all are doing a great job. I appreciate the leadership you provided. And it's an outstanding example of a research authority in the United States.
I'm humbled by your words. Thank you very much. Are there other initiatives that you'd like me to describe for you?
I don't think so, Bob. I'm very familiar with what all you've done and the success you've had, and whatever it is, it seems to be working.
Well, could I maybe describe the Industry Partnership Fund?
Yeah, I don't know much about that, but I understand it's been a help too.
Oh, it's been a godsend. So you mentioned that we were established to not receive any direct funding from the state. Well, that's a challenge in terms of long-term sustainability, isn't it? Well, we have a variety of revenue sources, and I've already mentioned one, and that is returns on those investments that then get reinvested. We also have lease revenue from the over 1.3 million square feet of laboratory and office space that we own and or manage throughout the state. I'm very proud of that, that figure. But the Industry Partnerships Fund is our primary funding source. And what that is a state tax credit. So those that contribute to the fund receive a one-for-one credit on their state tax obligation. And most businesses can then in turn deduct that contribution off of their federal returns as well. But there are a variety of other benefits as well, both for individuals and industry. For companies, if you contribute at a certain level, there are a variety of marketing benefits that we offer to you. But all contributors also receive cash flow type benefits, because you could write a check in January, date it December 1st, and you've met your obligation. That's kind of nice. But really, at the end of the day, the greatest benefit is for a contributor is the knowledge that they are directly supporting these major programs that are having such a tremendous impact. Exactly. The current annual limit is for all contributors is $9 million, but there are bills pending in both the State House and Senate that would increase that limit to $12 million a year. And certainly I want to thank Senators Setzler and Grooms, as well as Representative Elliott, for their leadership in sponsoring those bills, and we're hopeful that they will get through during this session.
Yeah, well, I hope so. It's good to keep moving. And you're trying to do that, and I wish you well.
No, thank you, sir. Mr. Secretary, South Carolina stands out versus the other 49 states with regard to SCRA in terms of the depth and breadth of our programs. No other state can match that. And that all began over 40 years ago with your singular vision. And for that, we and the citizens of this great state are eternally grateful to you. Thank you, sir.
Well, I thank you very much, and it's a real success. And a lot of things that I was involved in that have done well, and y'all are doing well, and you and your staff and other people in the business community really get a lot of credit for that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Glad to have you.